So can you tell me about the ERMITAGE project and what it involves?
It's about understanding the links between climate change, agriculture and food security, water security, biodiversity and ecosystem preservation, and in particular about how we address climate change by reducing the emissions of the greenhouse gases that we cause it, and also adapt to that climate change. And all of those processes, the climate change, how we try to reduce emissions, how we try to adapt to it, all of those things interact with agriculture and food and water security and ecosystems.
Now that's a lot of processes, that's a lot of variables. It sounds really complicated.
Well, it is very complicated, and what ERMITAGE is an effort at last to bring together the work from a number of institutions that have been working on some of these problems into one holistic system. So what we're doing is an integrated assessment of the studies that have been going on at the Potsdam Institute, at the University of East Anglia, and at other institutions involved, to create linkages between the knowledge at different institutions to look at these complex interactions. And we're doing that with computer models that have been built at each institution and linking them together into what we call an integrated assessment.
Can you explain a little bit more about what integrated assessment means?
Yes, it's basically an effort to link together knowledge from different disciplines. So at the moment, if you go to university, you would typically study physics or chemistry or economics.
Yes.
And what this approach is actually bringing together the people who have expert knowledge in those disciplines and who have built computer models which simulate and encapsulate the state-of-the-art understanding in those disciplines into a system where linkages can be made between the economics and the climate, between the climate and the agriculture, between the agriculture and the water, and then to the ecosystems and the biodiversity.
So what kind of models are you linking together then?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have 3 economic models in the consortium which simulate all of the processes that go on in our system that generate emissions of the greenhouse gases that cause climate change.
Right.
And then we have some climate models which are actually not the massively complex climate models that are run at institutions with very powerful computers.
Yep.
But they're models that actually mimic the behaviour of those very complex models. So they're designed to run very quickly, but to produce output that matches the behaviour of the more complicated runs that have already been done. And then, so we understand then the linkages between what humans are doing, burning fossil fuels and having cows grazing on agricultural land, making the emissions that causes climate change. And then we can see what's that actually doing to temperature and rainfall in each place. And then we can look at how that affects agriculture, because both a crop or a species, whether it can exist in an area or be grown in an area, depends on the climate. And then also agriculture and ecosystems require water, and so do humans require water. It's actually the community integrated assessment system that we're using to understand the model linkages. So this has been built beginning at UEA over a number of years, and we call this SciAS for short.
So who is exactly going to be using SciAS, and what are they going to be using it for?
So SciAS is going to be used by scientists and economists primarily, and they can run a combination of models, decide on what parameters they want to choose, and to solve and answer particular questions. And these questions can be anything from the cost of climate change and agriculture, the cost of particular crops and land use changes. Anything can be answered using SciAS.
So what's the significance of SciAS integrating so many of these different models?
That offers the advantage that the users can test the robustness of any particular solution, and whether multiple models devised by different people answer within broadly the same range for a solution. So any question that has a very wide uncertainty policymakers specifically would like to know what kind of, what is the range of uncertainty for any particular problem.
So you can use SciAS to run different combinations of models to try and answer the same question. And if those combinations come up with broadly similar results, that means the system's robust.
Yes, that is correct. We can run simple models to complex models, and if the answers fall broadly within a certain range, then we know that the answer is robust in that respect. And for example, we know that doubling the concentration of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere falls broadly within a known range. And if our models give those answers, then we know our models are robust in that respect. Yes.
Okay, so it can run simple or complex models. I'm amazed that it's just sitting here on a laptop, which is incredible. What kind of times does your basic machine take to run these models then, given that they could be simple or incredibly complex?
Well, like SciAS runs anything from simple to complex models. So the simple models can take between a few seconds to a few minutes, whereas the complex models can take days to run. But what you're seeing here is only the front end. All the real technical stuff runs on servers in different parts of the world, and we are connected just using internet.
So how many people are you hoping will use this system, and can anybody use it?
Well, at the moment we are geared for between 10 to 20 people to use the system, and the site does require registration, but we do provide registration to anybody who's interested, and you know, we want everybody to use the system if they can, and we try and provide help as much as possible. But of course, if lots of people want to use the system, it will depend on funding for us to expand the capabilities of the system.
So what's your ultimate long-term ambition for the SciAS system?
Well, SciAS is one of the tools developed via the ERMITAGE project, and to study the impacts of climate change, and we hope to influence policy and policymakers.